Hello and welcome to the Playground Experience. I got my co-host here, April Williams and Kathy D. All right, so we're just chewing it up, and someone kind of time got away with us just a little bit. This is we're busy on the slides and swings and enjoying the sunshine that we haven't been seeing since the winter time. And so we're gonna kind of talk about some of the energies that's coming on. I know I didn't share that, I forgot to say, but I think that goes into what we're talking about, really about the soul and understanding the soul purpose. And also that's kind of what's going on with these trends that we're seeing now that we were talking about earlier. Uh with the twin flames and the journey and understanding that the soul is really in the driver's seat, and understanding that a lot of things that's going on, if we're trying to understand it through our mind, through logic, we're not going to really understand it. I've seen a lot of videos that has been brought to me that's talking about the soul's purpose, what's the soul's mission, what is the soul, understanding that, and then also understanding the thing of the twins. And I know last week we talked about the word diamond, but I was listening to a man who was talking about the soul, and he said he called it, I don't know if he had an accent, daimon, which is what I thought I was hearing. And he said that's really your group of soul, spiritual guides, and your cosmic twin or your twin guiding you as through life, guiding you through this period of the journey. So those are your guides. Like your twin is also your guide. Your twin is also in their way, their higher self is pushing things to happen in order to get the journey to going, so you can be able to learn the things that you need to as far as your soul's growth. And he said damoon, damoon. And I said, that's it. I don't think it was the diamond codes. I heard, and I said, I like that. But I said, I've heard a lot of them, I got confirmation that a lot of them are saying that our twins, higher self, is really pushing us to go on ahead and go on to that level. And this is where we. I don't know. I heard that sound. Is that my baby? This is where we are.
No, it's Kathy
Right.
D's baby. That is one snoring dog.
Yeah, that's my baby. Oh, okay, because I'm like, what? I'm hearing voices. So yeah, so this is where we are, and I think that might be what we are seeing as far as what Kathy D just talked about the twins, and some of them right now are feeling kind of almost defeated because I think they're not really understanding what the soul's purpose and what the soul's mission is. And a lot of times it's going to seem like it is team me because it's some things that they got to kind of get themselves together in understanding that, hey, I'm going to do some things that's for my soul growth that looks like it don't have nothing to do with you as my twin, but it's going to be for the better good or the betterment of us, the betterment of our family, because we're here for also the family and the clearing the bloodlines, and it's going to be the betterment for the world in title. I mean, in title, in total. And so this is where we have to understand. So I think in some ways they might be why Spirit had brought me said talk about let's start from the foundational things and then we can kind of understand. So I'm gonna let Kathy D kind of talk about also about what are some things that you said you were talking about, because I think that was very good. I don't look at the readings as much as I used to. And like you said, just the comments. You just look at the comment section and that part. And now and then I do look on some of the readings. Say, okay, what they talking about? Let's see. Does this feed into me, and does this point me into a direction too as well? But I'll let Kathy D go on ahead and talk about what she said. Excuse me.
There we go. Yeah, I read the back page of the book first, so I go through the comments, and so many people are getting disheartened, but they're also looking at it we've got to really focus in on the foundation, like Divine Sunshine says. And this foundation is, we have to remember that the twin flame journey is not a journey of manifestation, where that is part of it. That is part of it. But it's a journey of ascension. And our ascension is the biggest part of this. And that's where we do some of this work that's on our own, because we have separate things. Even though we mirror, my, events will be different than my twins' events and what they went through. It might still be the same wound, but the way we have to deal with it are different. But on the journey of ascension, we have to watch. We see those little miracles, and we have to watch for those little miracles. And I had said about a month ago, wake up every morning and thank the universe for all the miracles you're going to receive that day, and that you can't wait to see them. And they'll start just appearing, and you'll start seeing them. And there's little miracles along the way that you'll see. And one thing is, if you're new to this journey, please get a journal. And if for nothing else, then write down the things you pray for, the things you ask the universe for. If you're asking for signs, write it down. And never get upset if you don't see them right away. They're going to happen in divine time. So those little miracles along that ascension, as you ascend and as your soul grows and you become unified with yourself, both your masculine and your feminine, and then you become unified with your twin soul because they've grouped their masculine and their feminine. And as you're moving through this, you're going to start seeing, I can't even tell you anymore how many signs I get. Bang, 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 bang. That 3 years ago, I asked for, prayed for, pleaded for, cried for, and didn't see him. And what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Where is he? What's he doing? Oh my gosh. And now I just get flooded with them because it wasn't time for me to see those yet. I had layers I had to get through of wounding. And I had to learn to trust my intuition. I had to learn to trust and to recognize those little gifts, those little joys, and we have to celebrate each other. We have to understand, like we were talking before the show, the three of us are, we've pretty much figured we're all we're on the same wave with the twin flames, and as they come through their own waves. But if I wrote down my story, Divine Sunshine wrote down her story, April wrote down her story, none of them are alike. Not at all. From the ages we met, from how we met, to the whole thing. But we're all going to have that culmination at that time. So it's back to that. We cannot judge our journey by someone else's story. We have to judge our journey by our healing. And this moon that's coming up tomorrow night, right? Isn't it the 16th? It is one that is going to bring up some of those things, some of those really deep woundings that maybe you didn't realize. And, like I had said, I had that moment today where I went from, being mad at the karmic to then it's spilling over and hearing that then it was my parents that actually implanted that seed that I needed someone. And luckily I had Bonita, and she was my sounding board. She was my soul sister. And that's the main thing. If you are going through this journey, do not go through this journey alone. Do not. This is not a journey of the faint of heart. And when you're watching for those little miracles are going to lead you to your soul family. And I'm going to tell you, I probably would have either been sitting in a corner, rocking back and forth and sucking my thumb, or just said, forget it all, I don't care, and walked away from it if it wasn't for these two ladies and the rest of our soul family. Because, this is not of the faint of heart. And there are times you have to have somebody there to say, nope, you're not crazy. Or, yeah, you're crazy. Quit overreacting. And we just, as we go through this and we have these moments to have that sounding board. And Bonita was so able to say, okay, all these people have told you needed them, but now I want you to tell me everything you've done on your own. What have you done on your own? She said, if I remember right, you've lived in South Florida on your own. You were an art director on your own. And she started listing all these things that I had done on my own, and helped kind of shine that mirror back on me to say, hey, I guess I don't need what they had told me. It wasn't true. That's not my story. And it has no power over me. And that was probably the biggest relief. But we've got to let our souls show us these things, show us these little miracles. Let our intuition come in. You know everything. Believe it or not. I don't know what's going on. I just have no. You do know. If you would do some of these meditations, and we have over a year's worth of our shows. If you'll go in and do some of these wonderful meditations that April has, there is no way, if you are fully embodying it and really taking it in and just listening to her voice, that you won't get it, that you won't hear it. You have to trust it. You have to know. And it's one of those things. If it feels heavy, it's not true. If it feels light, it is. And I'm going to tell you, if you have not heard one of April's meditations, and early on when we started the playground, she did some beautiful, and they were quite long, and they were beautiful. And I mean, they would hit everything. You'd have all kinds of emotions popping around. It's like popcorn in here. And Divine Sunshine's great. You could watch us, and we're going through there are times we're crying. But that's what you've got to do. You've got to allow that. You've got to let your soul be free. Because remember, this stuff, this is just our meat suit. This will be gone. Someday it's gone. It's worm food. It's whatever. But our soul is energy, and energy is never made nor destroyed. So you're going to be around. So you know what? Heal while you've got this opportunity to heal. So when you get your next go around, or if you take a vacation and you're like, I'm skipping that decade, so you can be more of a light and love to those around you. And, that's what I think this moon is really going to bring a lot to light for a lot of this. We talk about that burnt stuff on the bottom of the coffee pot. Well, this is that stuff, that crud that's hanging out around the handle, the little hinges on the handle, the little, that's where this stuff's coming from, because then you're seeing that it's not even who you thought it was that put it in your head. And you have to trust that, and you have to forgive them.
And sometimes, and like, okay, there's so many things. There's so many wonderful things that she put out there. One, that we all have different journeys. Two, that we all are working through something, and we attract a team. We attract people we trust. The world actually gives us more than we thought we deserved, right? And that was the issue, was we thought that we had to deserve something. But it's a birthright, right? It's a cosmic level of consciousness that we're all stepping into, that we're supposed to have. And since we're supposed to have it, a lot of us are reawakening in different stages, right? So and a lot of us are doing it in this lifetime, because the earth herself is shifting, and all the kids born in are just super alert and awake, and just like excited for their parents to get back on board. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about this back when we were all soul, And so stepping into this new world, we do have to shave off things that do not serve. And that means all aspects. And some of us, like she was saying, we're scraping the coffee pot. Some of us have crumbled ourselves into little bits, went through, found a volcano, threw ourselves in, and let ourselves go back down and come back. And a lot of us are doing that right now, the phoenixing moment, where we've all kind of crashed, and now we're like, what's left of us? What's left of me? Who am I? Right? And then as you're going through the who am I, you're going through the who am I not? Right? I'm not my people who came before me, but I am my people who came before me. And there's a balance, right? I'm not the earth, but I am the earth. I'm not you, but I am you at the same time. And so this process of finding respect and finding love and self-compassion throughout this process has been gold, has been a beautiful, beautiful diamonding experience. And so when they talk about that reflection back and forth, I love how you brought in the teacher who said that the diamond was about that reflection of what our teachers are saying. but you are also your own teacher, right? Because your boundaries may be different than someone else's boundaries. And you don't have to conform to anyone else but yourself, right? Your meat suit, you're fitting in your meat suit. Your soul is putting into your meat suit. What do you want to do with that meat suit today? Take deep breaths, down regulate my nervous system, come into the present moment, allow myself to fully bloom, right? Because Earth has created so many flowers in this tapestry called life, right? Where are you in that tapestry? What is your flower doing? Some of us can be wilting, some of us can be blooming, some of us can be just dropping petals, or some of us are just brand new to the experience that we are art, that we are beauty, that we are more than everything we need to be. It's just that the consciousness level has been hijacked. The system is multifaceted. So it's more than, yes, it's a meat suit and, right? Because the universe likes to play yes and. And I found that to be the most fun drama game and turns out real life experience. Yes and more and more. And I learned this lesson and I become anew. And I don't need, but I also am given, right? Like I'm given this friend who shows me that, yes, in fact, I don't need from these people that want to somehow hold the power over me. But I do need you to be in my life and in the appropriate place and timing with the right sentencing for me to actually hear the lesson, right? You know, the same thing is like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can't make anyone drink. You can't even really make yourself drink. The universe pours through you and gives you the inspiration of now is the time to drink. And when you drink, when you don't want to drink, that's when you end up with all this discomfort. That's when you end up with the pain. That's when you end up with the lack of focus and the fight or flight, right? So we're all drinking in this level of consciousness that has not always been beneficial. Yes, drinking in that mama love. um, and, you know, it's about how we want to direct it. And so we're directing it into that space of ultimate unconditional love. And the most difficult person, I guess, however this structure has been designed, is to love the self because of all the programming. And it's generations and generations of programming. So from them stressing out your great, 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 great grandmother and great, 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 great grandfather, where they were in survival, they could only open up their flower just a little bit before they continued on that seed. And so you coming into alignment here and now are doing the work of all of your ancestors put together to create you, but you're doing it in your unique fashion, your unique way. And once you really start to value yourself, you start to automatically start taking care of yourself. The people are put in places for you to like either instruct you how to have the best meals or to exercise or to have fun and play, because that's a large. You want me to change it? Okay, give me just a second. I'll be right there. So, giving yourself the patience and the grace to have your experience and realizing that not everything has to come with you. Just because somebody put that in your soil, right, that you think that's your root system, you can actually just put that out. But you need to become aware of it first before you can change that from one concept or conscious structure to another. It takes a moment to actually breathe in and then accept that, right? Because how many times did you have to, or for Kathy D in this instance, how many times did you do so many things beside yourself and somebody say that to you before you actually heard it? They probably, so many people were like, wow, you did that, or wow, you did that, but she never took it in until that moment where she was ready to see that reflection. So we put all this pressure in the creation of the diamond of our crystalline structure. Now it's a matter of how do we want to reflect on the facets? What do we want to shift out of? And you can either you can let the world pressure you, right? Because it goes back and forth. You can let the world pressure you, or you can put that pressure and step into it, and step into that fire and just let yourself melt down in clarity. And that's when you go on those crazy retreats and you have all that intense, deep shadow work, and you're howling at the moon, which sounds like a wonderful activity if I wasn't in the middle of the city with no dogs, right? Like just howling. Howling at the Hawaiian moon. That sounds like a nice book. Right? A good child's book. Anyway, you heard it here first. In 2 years, I might have a book called Howling at the Hawaiian Moon. But I mean, this full moon, got me all flipped around. Got me all, what's upside down? Me. Okay, let me go change this channel. You can have an apple, baby.
That's funny that she called it the new moon, because there is so much newness that is coming from this. Like Aqua Moon Tarot just said, that this is the karmic cycles are coming up to be completed and released. That's newness. There is so much that has to come through. And we also have to be mindful, and this is something that I've run into and really had to work on, is blockages. And these blocks are these ones that you didn't even know you still carried.
Right.
You thought you had done all these healing. And well, Sean had worked with us on, and talked about these things that happened before the age of 7. And then we get into those ancestral blocks that are just passed on that may not have had any effect on our lives because things have evolved.
Mm-hmm.
I never in my lifetime, I am very lucky and very blessed, have never had to be concerned about clean drinking water. Never.
Okay.
But you know what? When I get a glass of water out of the tap, I always look at it. Why? But now my family that moved from Kentucky to Indiana to Illinois, and there were homesteaders and just starting out, that was the biggest concern during those times, was the clean water, that it wasn't tainted with something, that you didn't get sick from it.
Okay.
So, it's just little things, but these blockages that keep you from feeling safe in your own home, if that's one of your issues, or a fear of money. Sometimes, and I have found, like, my fear a lot of times of money and success comes from my ancestors, because there was a fear with my grandfather that his family wouldn't have anything to do with him. And then and my grandparents were really the first ones that made a family. They didn't have to be blood relatives. They brought in friends, and they brought in their family, and that's how they would have holidays. But before that, in looking back and doing and reading on my family, I'm very blessed that I can do that. And that was the one thing you always didn't want to show, especially if you were moving around and you were a farmer and you were setting up something new. You never wanted to show you had a lot of money, or that made you very vulnerable to being attacked, being robbed, and when they came in to do that stuff, women and children, they were raped, they were beaten. It was bad. And so you always wanted to keep everything like on the down low. You didn't want to let them know you were successful. You didn't, because that put your family in danger. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm finding that so much of like my stuff comes in, and I have that fear of rejection, that fear of endangering my family. Because I had no problem. It was just me and I was single. Oh, if I put my mind to something, I could do it. No problem. Come hell or high water, I was going to do it. Watch me go. But once I became a mom, then I had to protect the cubs. And that's when that changed, because I didn't want anybody to come in and mess with my cubs because I was successful or able to do things on my own.
I'm ready to heal.
That's very interesting that you went into that layer with it, because there's a chapter in my book that talks about the epigenetics, right? And how these things go back. Science is saying 3 generations, but what I've been hearing about is 15. So I'm going to say from the very beginning, actually, because if you're looking at the structure of DNA, this double helix, it has markers that there was more, right? And if go one cell, if evolution is to be suspected as correct, atoms and elements come together to create a cell, or fats, carbon. I'm not going to do all that. I won't do that to you. um Her rant for 20 minutes about cellular biology. No, but so one cell groups with another cell, multi-cell, two cells, three cells, multicellular organisms, organ systems, right? And then we create the human suit. But this also doesn't put into account like the spiritual aspects of it, and the um, like the auric fields, the crystalline body, the chakras, the you know, and then multi-dimension time, all collapses in on itself. So if you go into the place of epigenetics and the trauma that's we've all gone under, we've gone under both. So as much as we are the victim, we're also the perpetrator. As much as we are the
I can change
and some people are
it.
carrying more
I
of
can
this.
change.
Okay, well, here's this. I'm trying to change it right now. I'm trying to tell the people about how they can change their epigenetics. Hold on, just have a little patience with them.
That way.
So the epigenetics of and how you can change it is through mindfulness, the active breaking down of what's been going on via shadow work, and how to change yourself conceptually. This flying around. Okay, it's how to change yourself conceptually to be able to harness and use the ancestral knowledge and the wisdom and all the things that they did to not only survive but thrive there, but tweak it, right? That's what we're doing with technology anyway. We use something, we say, wow, that's amazing, and then we tweak it. We create, we don't reinvent the wheel per se, but we tweak it. We don't completely like what is it restructure and do music differently. We tweak how it's put together, or we tweak different sounds. And so if you realize that change is the only constant, you can continuously step into that better self, into that higher timeline, into that the more pleasurable version of you. And so that's why I've created my series of courses, because I know that we can step into a world of pleasure. It's just a matter of accepting that pleasure is our by being born, our birthright, by our experience. The sweetness, I will say this, and it's kind of bittersweet to say it, but the sweetness of death is the taste of life, right? Once you start to realize that there's something beyond the fear, the excitement, the intrigue, things starts to turn into the better. You start to look for better situations. You start to vibrate into, okay, well, that's not really my vibe, so I'm going to go into this vibration. And you start to really hone in and shift the responses, but you have to look at the fact that there haven't been. If you're having, let's say, a fear of relationships or a fear of commitment, let's look at where if in your lifetime that pops up. If it doesn't pop up in your lifetime, then it might be either your parents or your grandparents, or even a parallel life, or because our DNA is so intricately wound, we can experience another person's experience or emotions, and we can shift that within us. If the fact that there is still crime against women or children or even men amongst themselves, how do we shift that as, well, I'm going to know myself better? Because when I can better express myself, that will allow someone else to either hear that and get it in their subconscious and like learn that, or they'll directly be affected, which is like, wow, I love the way you spoke about that. I'm going to continue to speak about myself in that way, or become that self-aware. Or we can also teach it to children. We can teach it to each other, because that's what we do on the planet, right? It's a teachable planet. It's a teachable time, and we all want what's best for all of us. It's no longer just all about self. And that's why this whole space of narcissism, right, and the acknowledgement of narcissism, because it's just up on the rise. Everybody's calling everybody a narcissist, right? So there is a point to survival and knowing your needs and having them met. There's another point where you're being manipulative or attempting to get what you want out of something else. There's someone that doesn't want to give it to you, right? And so once we come to terms with, okay, these things exist, now I can shift that. It's not necessarily to point and pull and play the blame game. It's actually there to create a space of, well, how can we be better overall as humans? How can we better enlighten and prepare this world for the shifts that are happening, right? Because it's about all of our enjoyment. It's about all of our creation of something magical here. And the Aquarian age is, if anything, magical. And if anything, for everyone, right? So that means there's some personal responsibility. And I suggest you just dive into the volcano, people. I mean, just let it go, but also still keep your structure, right? I mean, you don't have to abandon your whole life, but abandon things that don't serve you. Like, oh, am I doing something I don't want to be doing again? Am I giving my power away again? Am I not eating healthy again because I'm just trying to comfort and numb out from an experience? Why don't I want to feel that? Okay, how do I feel that where I'm safe and comfortable? Get down. No, no baby booties on screen.
The censorship.
He would be protesting already. I'm like, you can rebel. Just give your mother a break. I actually want to see you happy and alive. Okay, so you don't have to rebel with the crazy. But
Yeah, go on.
I think I pretty much hit the point where taking personal responsibility, and that's part of the newness too, and re-accepting our newness and re-accepting our new way of being, and that other people may not necessarily hold that space with us, right? Sometimes when we enter into new ways of being, what do you want? So
I change the water like that. It'll go up there.
No, you don't need to do that. So sometimes people around us, they will expect something of us that's an old paradigm or an old way of our being. And that's okay. Because that just shows where they are in their progression. Because if they're actually acknowledging, take it back to the sink, please. No. Did he just know me? Well, please, pretty please go. Take the water out of my room.
Commercial break coming through.
I'm not like I'm not nothing stereotypical. I don't like purposely be like, no. That's like, no, that's not logical. I don't want to mess in my room. He gets that. Oh, messes? Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is when somebody holds you into a paradigm that you are no longer in, it is your responsibility to stand firm and hold the line of which the highest self or God, the universe, has put you into realignment, right? And if they are holding on to that, because that's the tricky part about family, right? They want the best for you. But Kathy was talking about rebuilding your family, right? And they built it from friends. When your parents are blind to their own change, to their own growth, that can mean that it's difficult for you to grow or difficult for you to see yourself. Now, when you've separated somewhat from that, you can take the space to say, okay, this is mine, this is yours, and this is parts of my shadow that are parts of your shadow, and these are all my own separate parts of shadow, right? And these are my light parts. These are my strengths. And some of these come from you. And some of these are my own personal strengths. I mean, that's the whole point of no more of that, please. This is I need these documents. So have patience with yourself as you process and transition into you. You get to be strong for yourself, but sometimes that takes upsetting someone else. You're worth being upset over. You're worth making a fuss over. If you're going to have to defend yourself to say, no, I'm actually much better with money than you think I am, or No, I'm actually capable of doing so much, and I see now that it's you who wants me to need you. You know, no, I actually am not going to have sex with this person because they have violated me or they offended me, and I don't actually need their love. I need my self love and my physical perseverance, or strength and fortitude. Thank you, honey.
Yeah, we're kind of like at that point again, like I was saying about the soul's role, and really seeing that is that those family members, because nobody knows how to punch those buttons like family. And and it just really comes in there that you're getting pushed, that you're going to have to, everybody in life, and this is Earth, teachable planet, everybody's pushing their own agenda. Everybody thinks their agenda is important. And we have to stop it. Sometimes we think that because we're empathic, that we can really, in our agendas, like, we are empathic. We'll think about that. Well, my agenda might infringe on their dream. So I'll pull back a little bit and let them come to the foreground, let them shine a little bit, and then maybe we'll trade off. And then when I see the right time, then I'll come to the foreground and they'll slide back to the background. And that doesn't happen a lot of times with family members and their agendas about what they believe in, their ideology. It's like, no, what you thinking about, it goes to the background. It don't fit with my agenda. You're not. And you're going to find yourself, and I know that even personally, even with myself, that I had to kind of find myself. It's like, no, okay, this is the dream I have. This is what I want. You can throw your tantrum or say X, Y, and Z. But again, we're going to circle back to what I said, because we have to get to the point that what we believe in, or what we feel that's being pushed at a cellular level, your soul level, that's saying something about this says this is something that I have signed up for. This job you might be that I'm switching to, that you might say, I can't understand why that's a good job, baby. Why you not staying there? Or friends of friends and families might not understand and say, you need to stay at that old job. You're like, well, some tells me we at the end of the road. I keep on hearing secretly the Boys the Men song saying we come to the end of the road being sung every time I step into the building. So it's kind of over with. Now, maybe you can't hear the song that's being played, but I hear the soundtrack. And so it's time for me to go. And so we have to do that. But you know what I'm also finding is this, the universe is supporting it, that even if you try to do something to make the other person happy, it will shut it down, because it's like, okay, we have to remember. And I was listening to a lady's video that was talking about Sister Myra, and she said, you have to remember that when we talk about these things that we're talking about, let's talk about this soul and our soul's mission and our soul's contract that we talked about, and the things that we came here to learn, to help us to grow, to help us to get better, to help us to go on the true path, or whatever, is to come get the lesson, the blessing, and we check back out, no matter how many years it is, 15, 5 years old, 70 years, 100 years old, that we have to understand that when we're coming here, that we are not the only ones that feel like they have an investment in seeing us successful. That we have also our ancestors need us to be, because they, again, we're the promise, or the generation that's going to go and do greater things than they did. We have to remember that also the universe has stake in us being successful and going ahead with our soul's purpose of mission that helps us, in order for us to achieve those things that we said we were going to do to help us for our growth, is important as well. So, if we have to look at the scope of things when we're talking about our soul's role and why we're here and what we're doing, it's a lot of things that's in stake that we've talked about there before. It's people that maybe that mission that you open up that business, by them working in their job that they have, that working with you helps to feed their family, or maybe they might go off and go and make a YouTube video, or go do a business on their own, separate from them, because they learned something from you. That's because you following your mission and your purpose. You're answering what's your soul's call, or your role that you've been sent here, helps to be a feeder for others to do their own thing. So we have to remember that as well, that when we have family members, although they mean well, but a lot of times they're stopping us from what we know within our soul, that this is what we're meant to be. This is what we are sent here to do. And we cannot continue to kind of beat to their drum. You know, when we were younger, that was fine. When we were babes, we needed that. Because we didn't know what we were doing. We're like, heck, you've been here 30 years before I have. So I'm figuring you know what you're doing. I'm going to follow your steed. Here, you lead. You take the drum, and I'm going to drum right behind you with my little drum. And then after a while, you know, we have to understand, we get to the point to say, okay, I don't like that beat. You drumming a little fast for me, or I might want to jazz it up. Maybe I want to go bump, 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 and you keep going, bump, 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 bump. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of played out. So, you know, you have to remember that it's fine for a while. We cannot fault our parents for that, because that's the way they were taught how to drum. That's the way they were. But we have to get to the point that we've got to be in tune, become quiet, and listen to the drum, the beaten by the beat of our own drum that's being played by our soul. And when you talk about family, there's their point. And I think a lot of us have to work on that forgiveness. That was interesting. That's one reason why I was late, because I was on James Van Prague's. He did many readings, and mine was on it too. And although he didn't get to her, but it was a common theme as he was doing mediumships for all of the people that were on the medium call, which was forgiveness of family members, forgiveness of falling out for family members. It's a forgiveness of yourself, to allow yourself to get into that situation, forgiveness of the person being in a situation with you. But at the same time, we have to understand that when we go through those situations, it's for our growth. It's for you to get that lesson and to go on ahead and move on. A lot of us, because of ego, we get stuck right there in that cycle. That goes back to that karmic cycle where we got karma is a lesson. We get the lesson, we get stuck in that spin cycle, and we open it up and say, no, spin again. Oh, here we go. Back in the spin cycle, back in the wash again, which I should really be going into the dry cycle. Like I'm drying, like in the car wash, I'm driving off and I'm going on to my destination. No, I'm taking my little car and going right back to the car wash, saying, again, wash, soap, wax, dry. Okay, now am I going to take off? No, back again. So those karma cycles, when you're doing the lessons, is for us to really truly get that understanding. Our family have a way of keeping us going on. It's like, I'm finished. No, take the wheel. They taking the wheel. Say, go back through there again. And this is where we are as far as now of that little bit of crumbs that we see in the family, what things they have taught us, what we got to unveil, and really get in alignment with our mission is learning how to beat to our own drum and hearing it and hearing the spirit give us when they say, okay, we're giving you a new beat. Like say, give me a beat. They give you a new beat and saying, okay, and finding yourself waning off the pattern of the drum beat that your parents gave you. And now I'm going to the drum of what the spirit is giving you, which is really truly your own identity and your own rhythm for life. And this is where we are being guided to right now. So that's where you feel this newness. There's being a push now for a newness. Some of us are actively going to go get it, say, making whether it's a new job or going to get a new home or whatever. It's like you feel like it's a new energy that needs to be brought in. Some of us have been avoiding going into this newness. Spirit is saying, I'm going to push you in it anyway, because that's part of your soul's agreement and your growth, and that's your role, because there's growth there. Ego doesn't want you to grow. Ego wants you in some places, wants you to stay there. Now, ego will propel you to get in there, like that new job. Okay, get in there. Say the right things to them. Be charismatic. Tell them about the house if you want to get the house. How you do the X, Y, and Z when you're in there with the talking to the realtor and they all jazzed about, oh, well, I might want them to be the new owner of this house. That's the ego that gets you in there. But the ego can kind of go off and then like, okay, well, I don't know if we ready. Let me think about this. I don't know about this job. Is it worth the commute now? The kids look rowdy. I don't know about this new job. Or if the new house, right, with Kenny, it's going to be a lot to get all this stuff out here. I got to clean this up. Oh my God. So, it's a lot of things that right now that we've got to look at the ego and shut it down and kind of tell it its purpose for it. But also, what's being brought to me is again that we need to stop saying that there's something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us. That's what we're trying to understand. We think it's something wrong. I think I heard you. We think it's something wrong with us. We think it's something wrong with our partner. But we have to remember again, when we're trying to find ourselves, like you say, be kind to yourself, be compassionate with yourself. As we on these cycles of finding ourselves, we have to understand that too, that all of us are trying to find the beat and try to understand what is our soul's role and mission here. And that's the same thing with our person. Again, going back to that, they're trying to find it too, and we have to give them a leeway and an openness in the space to allow them to do that. And that's what that separation period is in that. And I know we dread the word separation and getting themselves together and the word mission and all that stuff, but it's all needed in here because right now this is where we are to get rid of all these karmic cycles and these things and these lessons and truly get them so that when we go and get into union, rather with ourselves or if it's with the universe or if it's with the world or with it is with our person, or we really truly will be in union with that person because we have handled all these situations. So when these things come up, we don't pop up and go back into those karmic cycles all over again. So that's why it's very important that we are now understanding how to really truly listen to our soul and understanding where we are in our mission and where we are truly being guided to go. And I think we're doing that. All of us in our mission work are saying, hey, I'm tightening it up. I'm going to really look into this. I'm going to actually do this. I'm going to actually do this because we're hearing our soul's call. I think it's a card that says your soulmate is calling. Some of us, our soulmate is our soul mission is calling us and we can hear it. And we're really finally tuning to ourselves to answer the call. So this is where we are. I stopped because I was channeling to it. I didn't want to stop it when they were bringing it to me. So I'll turn it over to you all about that as well.
Well, and that, that's so true. Our soul mission, we have to remember so many times we're told there's a reason why our family doesn't understand what we're doing. It's because the universe didn't give them the instructions. They gave it to us.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that we have to realize too is as we go through this and we do in union, it's going to be a new paradigm because it's going to be where we would have the outside validation, the outside, you have a problem, you call your sister, your best friend, whoever, they pissed me off. Oh my God. And it's not. That communication is so important to that union. You literally are going to be one person. And I can tell you, I have seen it already start happening as we talk and we make plans. It's been stated that my masculine, doesn't want to go and do a bunch of stuff with other people. He just wants to be with me. And when I ask, well, who are you going to do this with? Well, you. Well, what about if you want to go do this? Well, you'll come. Well, what if I have to go do this? Well, I'll come. And so it's very natural. Like it's almost like I'm having more trouble with it and I know what's going on. So it is, but it's interesting too. Earlier this week, a poem by Robert Frost was brought to me and it was about boundaries. And right now our boundaries are kind of taking on a little bit more of a different definition too with this new moon and everything. I'm kind of feeling it. I've kind of been shown a lot of this, and our boundaries are not as much to keep people out as to keep us healthy and to keep us safe and to protect the work we've done. And Robert Frost wrote the poem. It's called Mending Walls. And the main line in it is good fences make good neighbors. But the thing is, and he states in there, is having clear boundaries between your house and your neighbors and respect that boundaries help keep peace between neighbors. Those boundaries that we kind of see as negative. Oh, I don't want to deny that. You're not. I'm going to tell you now, there are plenty of times when things go down in this house, I lock my door. not because I don't want that person coming in. It's because I don't want to be able to get out. And I have to set those boundaries with myself and what I need to do to stay healthy and on this side of bars. But I have to do what is going to facilitate my healing. I've worked very hard at what I've been through, and I am not going to let someone else's words come in and change my boundaries. My boundaries are my boundaries, and I'm finding that they're stronger and stronger.
Mhm.
And the one person that probably has the strongest boundaries, which I found really interesting when I was journaling on this, and that's the DM. He has I have the strongest boundaries because it is so easy. Yes, dear. Yes, yes. Because I revert back to a 14-year-old teenager. And so I have to keep those boundaries. And, would I let anybody else get away with this? Well, no. There's a time and a place that our boundaries will merge together, and the boundaries won't be individual. They'll become a fence for us and helping us be good neighbors to other people and keeping those boundaries. But right now that I have a compound of one, and I have my little white picket fence. And if you're not familiar with the poem, he talks about mending the fence with this fence between him and his neighbors, and talks about through the frozen ground and the thawing, and how over the years the fence shifts and rocks fall, and you put them back in, and you readjust it and that kind of stuff. And we do that with our boundaries. As we change, then our boundaries change. Before one of my boundaries was, I'm not going to let you talk to me like that. And now it's like, I don't like it when you talk to me like that, but I'm not listening. I don't care. What you say doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And so those boundaries have changed. If it helps you, if you want to yell and scream and throw a fit at me, I'm probably going to sit there and laugh at you, or just give you a blank look like, huh? Like, and then I get asked, are you stupid? I must be. It's not going to faze me.
Mhm.
I'm not going to allow it to faze me. I know who I am. I know what I'm here to do. And sometimes our mission is put on hold, or we get a little, almost like a side hustle to our mission. And sometimes that's to take care of yourself.
Right.
Take that maybe, and not, I hate to say take a break, when we take self-love. Self-love a lot of times isn't taking a break, but it's taking that focus off everyone else or everything else and applying it to ourselves.
Yeah, I would just interject and then I'll jump out. I would like to say that the self mission is this other stuff is the side hustle. Self care is your number one mission.
And that's one of the things that get confused, because I don't know how many times we all haven't been asked on this show too, and then individually, what's my mission? And it's not like we have a book and we open it up and go, let me see, what's your name again? Oh yeah, it's right here. You're to take care of stray possums and raccoons. I don't know, I don't know. And, it's one of those things, but I will tell you probably one of the surefire ways that I found it. And I teach my students, we have 27 days left. My seniors are done. They're gone on the 18th of May. And the thing is, I have talked to these kids and I have instilled in them, when you make a decision about what you want to do with your life, think about, would I do this for free? And I said, not all the time. We got bills to pay. Let's be logical about this. But if you were to do it and not get paid all the time for it, would you still do it? And a bunch of them said, oh, I don't think I want to do this now. Because I had some boys that wanted to be truck drivers. And they were like, no, I get paid by the mile. I'm not doing it for free. There you go. And they asked me, they said, would you do this job for free? And I said, no. I said, but will I be a life coach and guide you all for free? Absolutely. I do it every day. there's that difference, because I want to help people. I want to see people have a good life. I want to see them, like I say, live your best life ever. And I would do that for free. And that's the point, that we have to, when you have such a passion for it, that you would do it for free, then you have to keep in the mind that you are so passionate about it, you're worth everything you charge. There's that sticky wicket, and we've talked about that many times. But find your passion. And actually, the other night, the DM and I talked about that. About what would you do for free? And it took him a minute, and then he's like, it would probably be something along photography, traveling, being able to see new places, and take pictures, and so it was a realization to him, because he'd like, I'd never thought about that.
Yeah. I think I asked mine that too as well, and it's like it took a minute for them to think about it. If I go blow off the street, sometimes you have to think about it. It's like, okay, well, you haven't found your passion yet. If you have to think of it like that. But
and granted,
yeah, yes, April.
I was just saying, granted, we're in the space where we have the ability to ask that question. We're not in survival, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a state of survival, you have to get your basic needs met, and the world is catching up to meet you, wherever it is you are and wherever you're stepping into. The question is, can you direct it? I used to practice meditating and pretending like there was a child crawling all over me. Soon, there was, right? Because I was calling in that life. I knew that I was destined to be a mother and all of these things. I turned out slightly different, and it's still turning out slightly different than I thought. But you know what? It's a wonderful journey. And so that whole saying that keeps coming up is like, be thankful for what you have, because you used to pray for it. And we're constantly in a state, our society and everything is just drive, go, go, go. Like you're trying to strive for more, and you're not okay if you're not just comfortable in your own skin. You're not okay if you're not just, going and going and going. And so now it's a matter of savoring, right? We're no longer just surviving, we're thriving and stepping into our best lives. But that also means, like Kathy D was saying, is the inner and outer alchemy, right? So for her, switching on the internal, I no longer care what this person has to say or what they're gonna do. I just know I can control myself, and I know my children are safe, right? And then that frees her thoughts now, because she's no longer in fight or flight with that. That frees her thoughts now to see and hear and accept opportunities that bring in more money, that accept in opportunities that bring in more joy, and then that brings in even more freedom, right? So now she'll have another space. She'll be able to actually grow, because she's allowed for her boundaries to go internal. I'm not going to let this external thing pressure me, just like I'm not going to let an internal thought of or pressure that I put on myself bother me. I'm just going to be observant of it and move forward. I don't necessarily need to agree with it. It can be the opposite of what I actually know to be true, but now I can step into myself even more so. And then she shines more radiantly. I mean, isn't she glowing, everyone? Doesn't she look all slim and glowy? She's getting, and her hair is beautiful. Like, we all show up. We all radiate externally the inner shifts that are happening. Just like you can see a lot of young people who have a lot of makeup, or they have a lot of, I mean, nothing's wrong with makeup, okay? I don't mean to vilify anything like that. There's nothing wrong with surgeries or doing any of that stuff. But you can tell in their eyes, and you can tell in their luster, that their heart is broken, or that they're very angry, or that they're carrying something that isn't them in that present moment. And that's all we're doing, is clearing and cleaning and refining who we are and who we're not, but then also how creating that better flow for the universe, because the universe is stepping into the Aquarian age, and we all step in flow in Aquarian age. It's just a little bit of a rocky transition, and you guys all chose to be born at this time to enjoy the show, right?
True.
And then how much you it's actually it's not just a show that you watch, it's a audience participation. Right. So welcome to the world, in case you forgot, in case you didn't know.
And sometimes it feels like a Gallagher show. If anybody is familiar now, I showed my age with him. He was the comedian that used to smash the watermelons, and everybody in the front row had to wear rain ponchos and stuff.
Wow.
He would smash fruit and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes you're sitting in the splash zone on the participation show of this. So
that's our Blue Man group. When you
go
the more further up, you got it because you don't know what the heck they're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that I think anybody that has been on any kind of journey like this, be it ascension, be it twin flame, a light worker, whatever, you can pretty much, like April said, the universe will say and or but, and so they've got now what. They always have that little question waiting for you, and they always kind of keep you on your toes. I don't even remember what I was reading. I want to say it was one of my books on hypnotherapy. And they were talking about, why don't psychics and, hypnotherapists and, all these people that can channel and all this stuff, why can't they win the lottery? Why can't we do these things? And we have to keep that magic, that joy, that mystery of the miracles alive in us as well, or we become very cynical.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually talking to a lady at one of the metaphysical shops here in town, and we were talking about the same thing. And she's like, I get surprised all the time. And she says, and I love it. She said, it used to throw me off, but now I've just been like, the universe cared enough to kind of give me a nudge on the path because they want me to enjoy those miracles, to never stop seeing the beauty in life. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's it. That's amazing. That's one way to just roll with these punches and just be like that, thank you for letting me see these little miracles. Did she freeze?
Yeah, she definitely,
because she's not even blinking.
Right, it hadn't done it all day. It decided to do it towards the end. So I think that means that the spirit says our service has been cut off.
You done. Bye, the universe.
That stuff that they ain't got, now they ain't gonna get it. All right, then. So let's close out on the community. What's happening? Anything going on the home front? Especially April, hit it again about what you're doing with your program and everything like that.
So the program launches April 20th. It's part of the Yummy Yoni series, or Yummy Yoni reprogram. And this is the series. So this is for women primarily, or men who have relationships with women who have been sexually traumatized or severely abused. And this is to help them work through those issues so that they can enjoy connection and intimacy, not only with themselves, but with the world as well, right? So this is going to be a 7-week program that it's called Medicated Meditation and Masturbation. So it's going to, whether you medicate or not, and I'm talking plant-based medications here, not all hopped up on volume or sloshy, you know what I mean? But being present, but where you've given yourself the foothold of you're no longer having your mind in control, you're choosing the control of your mind, and you're able to separate from your ego and the identity of you and redefine and recapture and actually process the emotions that your body is still holding, which is why I myself have PTSD. So there's a lot of things that my body holds, or I just feel the anxiousness. Mm-hmm. And then, throughout the process, you're going to be unveiling and then eventually getting to the part where we're going to do de-armoring, which involves different masturbation techniques and things like that to help you really feel in your body. But the primary aspect is to heal trauma. So using pleasure. So it's no longer painful and scary. It's actually a pleasurable experience, and to expand your pleasure body. So yeah.
Right. I tell you, yeah. So most definitely make sure that you sign up for that course so you can be able to get all that good stuff. That's really not in tune. I would say even it's good for you that kind of like you check out when it comes to intimacy. You're in the act or whatever. That's kind of sign there that you find.
Even over sexualizing. Even just using
I
sex to numb.
right to numb out too as well. I say, yeah, you need to kind of maybe really truly look into this, as well as another form of actual healing too, as well. So make sure that you check that out. Kathy D, I think you and I are just kind of working on and preparing and evolving and changing things. So we on self mission, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
very
so
much so.
on self mission on that, trying to create some newness and some get some new energy happening in our 3D matrix world. So that's what's going on with us. So all right, get us on out of here, Kathy D.
Well, make sure that you empty all of the virtual sand out of your shoes and socks. Take your own bucket home with you. Clean up around the sandbox, and wishing you all your best life ever. See you real soon.
All right, April, where y'all?
Stay blessed,
No, no,
stay
no,
golden,
no, no,
and remember,
no, no,
you
no,
were
no,
made
no,
for
no.
this golden life.
All right. No. All right. And it's always stay uplifted, stay motivated, stay fitted. Namaste. And now I'm going to go. All right. We'll see you on the next Playground Experience Live.